Welcome to the Movie Spoiler Club, the channel where you can watch movie, television, and streaming series within minutes. Today we're going to spoil the movie In Time, 2011. This movie story plot is about, in a future where time is money and the wealthy can live forever, Will Salas, Justin Timberlake, is a poor man who rarely has more than a day's worth of life on his time clock. When he saves Henry Hamilton, Matt Bomer, from time thieves, Will receives the gift of a century. However, such a large transaction attracts the attention of the authorities, and when Will is falsely accused of murder, he must go on the run, taking the daughter of an incredibly wealthy man, Amanda Seyfried, with him. I don't have time. We stop aging after the age of 25, and that's when our time starts. Time is currency. We earn it. We spend it. The numbing words that are uttered by the narrator are distant and cold. The young man rolls over in his bed and checks his arm. When he is dressed and ready for work, he meets his mother in the kitchen. The man wishes her a happy birthday. Today she is celebrating her 50th birthday. But she doesn't look a day after 25. They squabble about time in terms of money. They are behind on rent. They need time for groceries and their daily spending. Time is tight. His mother offers to give him time for a full lunch break today. They lock hands on each other's forearms, and her time is transferred to his clock on his arm. She reminds him that she will need him to meet her after work, because she won't have much time left. He agrees and heads off to work. At work, he meets his buddy Boral. Will Salas works at a factory that manufactures time capsules. When he clocks out of his shift, he notices that he was shorted on his pay for the day. There's always something standing in the way of his time. After work, he heads to the local bar to meet his buddy. Boral is already drunk and waves Will down. Boral explains that there is a man at the bar paying for everyone's drinks. He has a century on his clock. When he sees the man at the bar, he approaches him and tries to warn him that in this part of town, that kind of time will get him killed. Will tries again to explain that he is in danger, but everyone is interrupted when the Minutemen show up. Everyone in the bar scatters. Boral motions for Will to leave too, but Will insists that he will stay behind. One of the Minutemen, 40s, confronts the man at the bar. He tells the man, "I like your watch. Can I try it on?" The man smirks gently as 40s rolls up his sleeve and sits at the table. The man stumbles backward and politely excuses himself. The guard keeps a close watch on the man but doesn't see Will. Will bursts in unexpectedly, bashing him in the head with the door. Will grabs the man and helps him escape out the back of the bar. 40 sees the men stumble outside. He furiously grabs his gun and runs to catch up with them before that time disappears. The two make their way to an abandoned building. Once Will is sure they will be safe for the night, the two men spend some time talking. Will is annoyed as to why such a wealthy man would endanger his life and put himself at such a risk. The man introduces himself as Henry, and he explains that he is 105 years old. Henry tries to help Will understand that at a certain point, there is nothing left to see, and death is welcome. Will argues that death is awful and depressing. He wonders if Henry has ever known anyone to have died. Henry responds with, "To be immortal, many must die." Will's face scrunches even further, and Henry goes on to explain how time works. Henry stops to take a moment and asks Will honestly what he would do if he had all the time that he has. In the morning, Henry rouses early with the sun. He wakes carefully not to wake Will. He rolls up his sleeve and transfers all of his time to Will. Now Henry has approximately 5 minutes left to live. When Will wakes up, he can't find Henry, and when he looks at his arm, he sees that he has at least a century worth on his clock. He rushes to the window. On the foggy glass is a message: "Don't waste my time." Outside on the bridge, Will can see Henry sitting on the ledge of the bridge. Henry stares at his arm, then out at the sunrise. He breathes deeply and enjoys his last moments on Earth. The seconds tick away. Henry flinches in pain and falls down into the water below. Will misses Henry by mere moments. He stares at the lifeless body below in the water, and then at a security camera. Secrets are always safe with best friends, so Will heads to Boral's house. When Boral comes outside to chat with Will shows him his arm. Boral is freaking out and is worried about his friend. Will deflects the fear by transferring 10 years of time to his friend's clock. Boral takes his extra time to the bar. That night, Will's mom gets off of work and heads toward the bus. She is about to board, but the price of the fare has doubled. She can't afford the ride and nobody on the bus care to help. The walk is 2 hours long and she only has 1 hour 30 minutes. She needs to run. Will is waiting at the bus stop, but when his mother never gets off the bus, he suspects there's trouble. He takes off in her direction. As he rounds a corner, he can see her. His mother begins to cry because she might just make it. The seconds are disappearing as she leaps into his arms to transfer some time. She is just too late. She leaps and dies in midair. Will catches her as she falls into him, her lifeless body in his arms. He kneels to the ground in tears. The next day, timekeepers bring Henry's body out of the water. They have identified him as a man from New Greenwich with too much time to be hanging around in Dayton. His clock has run out, which means he was probably robbed. Will calls for a car to take him to New Greenwich. Will arrives at a swanky modern hotel and books a suite. Meanwhile, the timekeepers are going through the security camera footage and spot Will fleeing the scene of the incident. They have his face, and now they need to find him. Another night in New Greenwich. Will is feeling lucky. He decides to do a little gambling with the rich. He has a strong poker face. During the game, he strikes up a conversation with Philippe Wise. The man's values rub Will the wrong way, which makes beating him in cards a sweeter victory. He has caught Wise's attention as well as his daughter Sylvia. Sylvia invites Will to a party she's having tomorrow night. Will plans on being there. At the party the following night, the two share a dance together, while her parents judge them from a distance. She asks if he really does come from time. He looks down at her and isn't sure what to say. And then she blurts that she caught him running. The rich never have to move quickly. Bored with her life, she tells him that the poor die and the rich never live. Will stares at her and gets an idea. Will takes Sylvia to a beach at the back of her house. Will starts to undress in the pale moonlight. Will encourages her to join him as he takes off for the water. She runs in after him and the two swim out to a nearby cave. She hears her parents calling and knows she has to go. While Will was trying to score more time with Sylvia, the timekeepers have caught up with him. The lead officer Leon bursts through the front entrance, bringing the entire party to a halt. Leon arrests Will Salas and they capsule all of his time, leaving him with just 2 hours for booking and processing. Will denies that the time was stolen and tells the story of Henry and how the time was a gift. Will catches Sylvia's icy stare. He breaks away from Leon's grip and grabs a gun and Sylvia. With Sylvia as a hostage, he makes a run from the house. They hop into his car and take off into the night. The car gets totaled driving over road spikes. The car goes flying, knocking both of them unconscious. While still knocked out, 40s and his gang show up. They swarm the couple to scavenge what's left of their time. Will has almost nothing left, but the girl has enough to share. 40s starts stealing her time, but sirens sound in the distance. 40s tries to drain Sylvia's time, but he is forced to flee away when the sirens grow louder. When Sylvia wakes up, she realizes she only has half an hour on her arm. Will wakes up. He assures her that he has been that broke before. The couple heads to Boral's house for some time. When Liam finally catches up, they find the car but no bodies at the scene, which means they are on foot. They have to follow the time. At Boral's house, Will finds out that Boral drank himself to death. Time is ticking away, and Sylvia is growing more anxious by the second. Will is thinking for a plan and then sees her diamond earrings. They run to the nearest pawn shop to make a deal. The pawn shop is closing its doors when the two arrive, but Sylvia throws her diamond studs under the lip of the door in a last-ditch effort to grab the shop owner's attention. For the earrings, they get 2 days. They take the deal and then head to a payphone where they get in touch with Sylvia's father. He wants 1,000 years. When that offer is dismissed, he counters with 1,000 years to be distributed to the timelines in Dayton. The two head to Will's apartment. Her father has until tomorrow morning to wire the time to the timelines. The next morning, Will is up with the sun. One moment of suspense and then nothing. Will, defeated, takes Sylvia outside to call her father and go home. The two are closer now than 48 hours earlier, and Sylvia isn't sure she wants to leave him. He urges her to go and gives her a gun for protection. She calls her father from the payphone. Will sits on a curb and watches from across the street. Sylvia is unhappy with her father for not paying the ransom, then turns to look back at Will. She can see Officer Leon approaching from behind with a gun aimed at Will. She reacts instinctively. She aims her gun at the officer and shoots him. She runs to Will, leaving her father on the phone. The two hover over Leon. He expects Will to drain what's left of his time, but instead, Will gives him some of his own. The two take off in his car. The couple is making the headline on television, raising everyone's suspicions. As pressure on his daughter matter rises, Wise tries to remain calm. Sylvia suggests that Will and herself should get all the years they need. They crash a truck into the time bank. They steal enough time to fill their briefcases and leave the rest to the city. Will leaves the time capsules with those most important to him, including all his coworkers at the timelines. Later, The two are hanging it at a hotel, feeling satisfied. Then Will senses something wrong. Leon is with timekeepers at their hotel, so the two jump from the two-story window and run onto the street. Leon chases after them. Will and Sylvia board a bus, but the driver recognizes them. Will pays the driver off so he will keep quiet. Then they find a hotel to stay and buy every room for their privacy. With the whole hotel booked, the two were feeling pretty safe until 40s and his crew break in and force them to time fight. 40s against Will, winner takes all. Will rolls up his sleeve and they interlock arms. 40s is draining Will fast, and Will is trying to remain calm. Will has minutes remaining, and that's when Will shifts the transfer. He begins to drain 40s. Then he grabs his pistol and shoots the two guards next to him, and then runs 40's clock until it's empty. After they kill 40's and escape, Sylvia decides maybe it's time they turn themselves in order to corrupt the time system. The twinkle in her doe eye says it won't be an honest surrender. The next morning as Wise is returning to work, he is surprised by his daughter. All of the guards are pointing their weapons at her, but Wise orders them to stand down. Sylvia has already put her gun down in an attempt to surrender. Then Will pops up and points his gun at Wise's head. They make Wise take them to his private safe. Inside the safe, there is a 1 million years capsule which would be enough to corrupt the time system. The couple races out of New Greenwich back to Dayton but runs into trouble with Leon. The stolen time gets put into circulation. Leon chases after them so long that he forgets to watch his clock. They are in a standoff and the seconds are ticking away. One mention of time reminds Leon that he is running low. He watches his last seconds slip away as he times out right in front of them. They also only have seconds left. They kiss one last time, and Will thinks he can make it to Leon's car for his per diem time. He runs for it, grabs some time, and turns to meet Sylvia. She is running as fast as she can towards Will. She leaps into him and they interlock arms. The transfer takes effect. They look at their arms. Will has a day, which is all he has ever needed. The time is spreading and now there is so much in circulation. Timekeepers can't separate it from the rest of the earned time. As for Will and Sylvia, they are going to continue to do what they do best: rob time banks. Movie trivia. Do you know that in a movie about people who would stop aging at 25 years old, many of the actors including Cillian Murphy and Justin Timberlake were in their late 20s and early 30s? Amanda Seyfried, however, really was 25 years old during filming. This movie gets the movie rating of 6.7 from IMDb, Tomatometer rating of 37 and audience score of 51 from Rotten Tomatoes. Thank you for watching and be sure to hit like, subscribe, share your thoughts in the comments section, and hit the notification bell for the new movie spoiler video every week.